EcoHedge was founded in 2022. What inspired you to create a carbon counting software specifically for small and medium-sized enterprises?
When we were looking at setting up EcoHedge, I had prior experience in cybersecurity, and around 2019, when GDPR came in across Europe, I noticed there were lots of small businesses struggling to come to terms with what they needed to do and map their personally identifiable information and break down where it was all being stored. So I started thinking with a couple of the co-founders what else small businesses would be struggling with on the horizon, and that's where the emissions challenge really came to light, because that's very similar in terms of it's a data challenge for these businesses. They're using multiple different applications, they've got lots of different suppliers, so putting together a way that they could quickly understand where that information is, collate it, categorize it, calculate, and come up with emissions reporting, I thought would be of value to small businesses. So that's really why we started doing it.
Mm-hmm. And why did you decide to focus on small and medium-sized, not large enterprises? Was there anything behind it, or it was just a natural idea within the process of creating the company?
So the small business piece was really that, and it's still the case, that those small businesses are not captured by regulation, so they don't have to report. However, we are of the mindset that they will need to report due to market forces. So because small businesses essentially make up the supply chains of larger publicly listed entities, we really wanted to capture the bit of the market that wasn't regulated but was starting to be asked at tender in tender processes and by consumers and customers, things like that, to report, even though they don't necessarily have to. And that, because it's not a well-served market, but purely because they don't have to do it, we thought that would create a good beachhead for us.
Mm-hmm. So we are on the same page. We agree with that at Net Zero Compare.
Yeah.
Paulina?
Yeah, thank you for responding. So how does EcoHedge simplify the process of carbon reporting due to data complexity?
I think for small businesses that haven't reported before or have no expertise when it comes to approaching carbon accounting, they don't really know where to start. So we've created a software that takes them on that journey and starts them with spend based. So if you want to get an idea of anything, a good saying is maybe follow the money. So in order to quickly get a high level view of emissions, we seamlessly integrate with a number of different accounting applications and do a lot of the heavy lifting for the small business. So as they then get to grips with reporting and start to understand a bit more about the GHG protocol and what they should be looking for and where the data is, where the hotspots are, they can start to enrich that with activity-based data. But yeah, we streamline it by getting the data in spend-based form and starting the ball rolling on their carbon reporting journey.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And your focus, judging by the website also, it seems to be on affordability and accessibility. How do you ensure that small businesses can adopt EcoHedge without facing any financial or technical barriers, so it's not too much burden for them?
Yeah, I think that's a really difficult challenge for small businesses, because when they don't have to do something and they're spinning multiple plates, trying to essentially keep the lights on, they're facing rising costs themselves. How can we ensure that we're creating something that's more valuable for them and going to help them to win more business than actually something that just captures a lot of value from them? So we've really tried to, wherever possible, strip cost out of the product and remove lots of bells and whistles that you might see on various dashboards and other reporting solutions that allow you to do lots of things in real time. We've tried to keep it really, really simple and the bare minimum for what a small business would need to report on at tender time for winning those contracts. So that's how we've been able to keep the costs down, and we hope can provide value for small businesses to justify that spend.
So I understand they also keep like the number of features, additional features to the minimum.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the small businesses can actually cancel as well if they've once they've generated their report. So we love them to stay customers, but I mean, I don't want to keep people prisoner.
Perfect.
And how would you say, in your own words, what makes EcoHedge different from other carbon accounting softwares on the market?
Great question. There's lots of different options out there, and I think there's different niches that different software providers focus on. We're very much focused on small businesses with those small budgets that have plans to win big contracts. So we're focused on doing exactly what they need to report on with no bells and whistles, just seamless integration that helps them to report quickly. So I'd say that's what our focus is, and we try to strip away the moral argument, even though we do believe that businesses should be taking action and reducing their emissions. We see it more as something that's going to help businesses to qualify for orders, rather than a sort of moral imperative that we should beat them over the head with.
Thank you. I think we're also kind of on the same page with that.
Yeah. And scenario analysis and forecasting are important for businesses, as you know, for planning their sustainability goals. So how does EcoHedge help companies predict and reduce future emissions?
Yeah, that's a really important piece, and I think you need data, a lot of data, and good technology to be able to do that effectively with software. So we actually do that via additional consultancy help. So we take reporting that can come out of the platform, and if there's a way that we can help a business to go on a reduction pathway and start a journey of decarbonisation through recommendations, we'd prefer to get on a call with them and actually have a conversation about what's right for their business, and get a human in the loop to support that.
Thank you.
Now that might change in the future when there's just AI agents running everything.
Not that far future.
Yeah, next week.
So in terms of compliance and regulatory support, many small businesses are overwhelmed by ESG regulations and compliance requirements.
Yeah.
How does EcoHedge help them navigate and meet these standards that are evolving?
Yeah, so there's lots of different fragmented standards and requests that small businesses, clients that we've got, get asked to report on, mostly in the form of lots of surveys. So they'll get surveys that they have to fill in on an annual basis to remain as a supplier, or even just win a contract. We're focused on providing access to the data so that it can be stripped out and used in various ways. So you can download it all in CSV, Excel format, play around with it. But then again, providing a bit more additional support with having support, so humans that you can speak to. And we're not a faceless company, so you'd be able to speak to somebody about your specific reporting needs if you need something in an ISO format, or I mean the platform will do GHG protocol by default, but yeah, we can work on different reporting templates.
Mm-hmm. And the different regions obviously have different carbon reporting requirements. So does it mean that you focus solely on the UK market, or you can cater to businesses globally?
Yeah, so we focus solely on the UK market with EcoHedge Express, and with our partnership with Carbon Delete, which we might get onto, we are able to provide carbon accounting solutions to sustainability consultants, and that's not locked geographically, so you can have multiple different emissions factors with that software, and it has multiple different reporting templates across sort of CSRD, everything.
Mm-hmm. And in the future, are you planning, for example, to expand to other countries, or it won't be the case? We're trying to focus on organic growth in the UK, and as and when we're able to invest in developing the product to different regions, certainly we'd like to support businesses in other geographies. Okay, thank you.
And since you mentioned your partnership with Carbon Delete and the fact that you now provide tools for both sustainability consultants and small businesses, how do the needs of these two groups differ, and how does EcoHedge address these differences?
Yeah, it's a really good point, that, because you might off the bat think that we're competitive, Carbon Delete and EcoHedge, but actually if you look at the end consumer of the products that we're developing, a completely different target market. And the reason it's completely different is because of how mature those people are when it comes to doing carbon reporting. So sustainability consultants have a really in-depth understanding of the way to do a carbon footprint, a corporate carbon footprint, and as such need a far more powerful tool that's far more malleable than EcoHedge. So EcoHedge is more sort of out of the box. We make a lot of the decisions for the small business to make it very streamlined, and don't report on all of the scope 3 categories, because for the vast majority of the small businesses we're working with, it's going to be a negligible emissions footprint, whereas Carbon Delete is very much looking at providing a sort of validated footprint that a sustainability consultant can use to replace their full spreadsheet.
Thank you.
And we know that through the partnership with Carbon Delete, you were able to provide both tools for both small and medium-sized enterprises and sustainability consultants. So how do the needs of these two groups differ, and how does your company addresses those differences?
Sorry, Carl, I think I just asked that question.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I might not have answered it sufficiently, though. That's
if you forgot to add something, you can do it now. Really.
I'm specifically interested in how do you address those differences. So, for example, you have different accesses, so they will have different views, different features, or it will be still the same desktop view?
Yeah, I think for the sustainability consultants, it's about how do you operationalize and scale the carbon footprinting service line, because there's lots of different ways you can do it. If you're operating a consultancy and you've got a number of different consultants, how can you ensure that those consultants are using the same methodology and producing the reports in the same way and are doing it in an efficient way? So I think that's the need, and that's where Carbon Delete sort of really fills that need for sustainability consultants. For small businesses, they don't have the budget to go out and spend on external consultants in a lot of cases, and they don't have the in-house expertise to do intricate manual calculations. So the need is us simplifying that process and doing a lot of the heavy lifting to produce a report. So that's what we do, and try to keep the cost down and whilst doing that.
Okay, thank you.
So EcoHedge has been around for around 3 years now, hasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been around longer in my head, but yeah.
Well, what has been the biggest challenge in scaling the company in the last 3 years?
So I think when we started, we raised a bit of venture capital, and we were almost trying to run before we could walk, because we wanted to really get out there and make some noise. And we were sort of doing things that would, in the short term, be quite successful, but don't build a long-term base for organic growth. So what I mean by that is really focusing on our search, optimizing how and where small businesses find us, and we found that actually a lot of that is through online channels, as opposed to going to conferences and social media posting and things like that. That's been quite a learning for us, because we need distribution, really, rather than a consultative sell, because we just can't get the numbers when it's such a small deal size.
Mm-hmm. And have you abandoned conferences totally, or you're still attending a few? Or
no, so I think it's a great place to be able to meet people. It's just we're not spending money on sort of stands or anything like that.
Oh.
But we would of course go network, and it's a great way to get yourself in amongst
purposes mostly, because we've noticed that there's plenty of events regarding sustainability, environment every single day in the world. So probably people are using those channels.
Yeah, exactly. People must be using them, and they're probably using them way more effectively than we were. It's just for us, we didn't manage to make it work that well.
Okay. And what is next for your company? Are there any new features, integrations, or partnerships on the horizon?
So I think streamlining the reporting process. So we're fortunate enough to have been joined by a new technology leader, Max Fedorov, who is going to take some time to go through the platform and the technologies and ensure that we have got everything to a level where we can start to now build and cover more data types, more integrations, because there was a bit of time whilst we have consolidated and onboarded more customers that we slowed down the pace of development with the software. So I guess teeing up for the next phase, seeing what you can do with that, and I got lots of other stuff, just seeing how many businesses we can help.
Exactly. Thank you.
Any upcoming partnerships you can tell us about?
I don't think so. I mean, we we've sort of been in discussions with various distribution channels that I've talked about as a big challenge, but it's a bit early on some of them.
Okay, thank you. And do you think you will start using AI to automate carbon accounting?
Absolutely. So there's a bit of AI in the platform at the moment when it comes to the categorization piece, but thinking about good uses and not just doing it for the sake of it is where we're at. So with Max joining us, he's got a bit of experience with implementing AI solutions to solve various challenges. And I think if we could get to a position where we're replicating sustainability consultants with agents that help small businesses to create carbon reduction plans, create carbon footprint reports, climate policies, I think that would be a world that isn't too far away, actually, and something that we could be well positioned to be successful in.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
And we'll have a few industry insights related questions. So if you could tell us, in your view, what's the biggest misconception businesses have about carbon accounting?
The biggest misconception customers have.
When customers is approaching you, for example, they have a different vision of what needs to be done, what they need to.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that they think that they will be judged by the solution provider for being transparent and being honest and almost being apologetic before even getting their report, saying, don't think that we're bad people if we had a diesel van or something like that, which I think is a bit of a misconception, because you're not there to make any kind of judgment on what's happening, but being someone on technology enabled to allow transparency is what we're trying to do. So we're trying to encourage data sharing rather than judging.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. That's an excellent answer. And for companies that are just starting with their sustainability journey, what would be the first step they should take, in your opinion?
They go to Google and they type in EcoHedge. So I think the first step is really trying to understand what you want to achieve. Like anything, I often ask the question, do you want to be a change maker or a box ticker? And everyone predominantly starts with change maker, but that's meaning that you're going to have to invest time, you're going to have to invest money, you're going to have to get the right expertise, and that's great. But maybe the reason that you're actually looking to do something is you need to comply with certain legislation, or you've been asked in a procurement process. So really being clear about why you're trying to do something, and then when you've got that view, working out exactly the access to various data and systems that you've got, because the data collection piece is usually the biggest headache that puts people off all of this type of thing. So yeah, setting your goal and understanding the data you have to be able to measure it.
Thank you.
And since you're focusing on the UK market, are there any government incentives from the UK government to small and medium-sized enterprises to take carbon initiatives and reporting seriously?
So I think that we're in a fortunate position where we've got quite a mature market when it comes to reporting anyway. So businesses are fairly aware of what it is, and it's being built into a lot of tenders already. The government, I think, could do more when it comes to the reporting requirements and support for small businesses, because you get legislation that puts onus on public listed, wealthy, big companies to to report, and then that just cascades down, and then ends up at the front door of the small business, and they have to report on something and sometimes get it verified, and they're not provided with any funding to be able to do this. So I think there could be more there. But yeah, in terms of the general market in the UK, I think it's quite mature in a way.
Okay, that's a positive one. So you think that there is nothing that could potentially change from the UK government to make it even more effective or transparent for small, medium enterprises?
I think the government could introduce various carbon pricing and taxing and support for smaller businesses to basically disclose to larger businesses.
Okay, thank you.
And for our last question, if you could give one piece of advice to a small business that is hesitant to start carbon accounting, what would it be?
That I think doing it now, you can sort of pay pennies now or pay pounds later, really. I think you can get ahead of some of the competition and start to track that data in a systematic way, so that it's not going to be as big a headache for you down the line as if you were to start now. So yeah, I'd sort of encourage to start as soon as possible. If that's not too miserable.
Oh, no, that's great.
And do you offer any discounts to first-time customers to give them an incentive to start the carbon accounting journey?
We're always open to doing a deal. So yeah.
And there's a free plan, isn't there? Like a light version, as far as I remember.
So there's a free plan, but that will allow access to year-to-date data. So if you want to have a look at a full year, you need to upgrade, which is £97 a month or £9.99 for the year.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to put some kind of discount on the site, I'm sure we could work something out.
Is there anything you wish we would have asked, but we didn't?
No, I thought that was pretty good, actually, pretty comprehensive.